Welcome to part 2 of the Primate versus Next.js test that I did where I built this website and shared my findings in part 1. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I actually set up the project. Let's start at looking at the Next.js project. So Next comes with Tailwind out of the box. I simply added some CSS variables here that I got from TweakCN. And if you don't know what that is, you can go to their website. And it's typically used for ShadCN to get the variables for your ShadCN theme, but you can use them for Tailwind as well because they are just variables. The next thing I had to do was just clean up the page.tsx file because it comes with a bunch of HTML. And I use this same HTML for the Primate section. I just changed the text in the header element. So that was it to set up Next.js. In Primate, when you run the init command with Primate, it doesn't come with a view or a route, so you can't just run your dev command immediately. Nothing will happen. You'll get an error because there's nothing to display. So what you have to do is you have to create a view. And again, I use the same HTML. I only changed the header. So I created the index component. I added a prop. And in the Next.js application, I actually do the fetch within the home component here. And that's because you can actually do that. It's a server component. But in Primate, what we're going to do is actually create a route because this is how we're going to display our view. So we have a clear separation from the presentation, our view, and the route, which is where you will link your view to a specific route. And we do that by returning response.view. When you're creating your new route, you use the import route from Primate route. The route variable has functions for every single HTTP method. And so in our case, we're going to use the get method where we're going to fetch and then return the first 10 games as a prop to our view component index. I immediately love this because there's a clear separation of concerns between our view and our routes. And if I wanted to just make this an API route, I could just do response.json and return the first 10 games, for instance. Primate nails it in terms of just letting you have control over your application. You can do whatever it is that you want, and it feels right. It doesn't feel like you're doing some magic behind the scenes. So anyway, to add Tailwind, I also had to add a tailwind.config.js file, and I added a static folder where I added my master.css file, where I imported the Tailwind package and added the same variables that I had earlier. And then I had to go in the config app.ts and import Tailwind from primate/Tailwind. So I had to install these packages, of course, and then add it to the module here. So there was a bit more setup to do, but that's fine. That's what you're supposed to do when you're creating a project. You are supposed to set it up from scratch, as opposed to just having a bunch of boilerplate code that you're going to need to remove potentially. So to summarize, I had to run the init command, and I chose to use bun as my runtime, but you could use node through npx instead of using bun. And to make things fair, I also use bun on both, and I use, again, React on both. But the neat thing about Primate is you're not beholden to React, whereas with Next.js, that's all you can use. I'll get into that in a second, but I basically had to do that. I set it up with no backend, no database, no internationalization, and no session. So overall, there was a little bit more steps to set up Primate in comparison with Next.js. So now to finish up, why would you even use Primate versus Next.js other than the benefits that I shared in the first video? So Primate is a universal web framework. It's not just made for React. You can use all these front ends. You can use Vue, Solid, React, Svelte. And not only that, you can even mix and match. You can use React for one route, Svelte for another route. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is if you were to use a layout like you would in Next.js, you would have to use the same front-end framework for all these sub-routes that are linked within that route. What that means is if you have a route called dashboard and your dashboard uses a bunch of different components inside, they all have to be of the same framework. Whereas if you have a /login route, you could then still use like React, for instance, and Svelte for your dashboard if those are clearly using different layouts. The advantage of Primate is that it's not locked down to any specific front-end framework or back-end framework for that matter, or database for that matter. On the flip side, NextJS is made to sell you Vercel's services, and so you will have functionalities that lead you to a certain direction. Primate is the complete opposite of this. It's made to last the test of time. And so in order to do that, it lets you use any technology that you need. You could also have one of your backend in Go and another in Python. And a good use case for that could be that maybe there's one route that you want to optimize in Go because of speed related reasons. You can do that in Primate. None of this is available in any other framework that I've seen. And that's why going forward, I'm going to be using Primate for all of my projects. And if you have any questions, you can go to the Primate GitHub and you can click on this chat button here and it'll take you to the Discord server. That's going to be it from me. I hope you give Primate a try and I will see you in the next video.